to gather with one another in truth, in righteousness, and in fellowship, brotherhood and sisterhood. So I'm so happy to be able to see you all today. It truly is a blessing, because some people didn't wake up this morning, right? They didn't get another opportunity to get right with God, to get right with their brothers and sisters, or even to just experience the beauty of life. So when we're granted that opportunity, we should surely show our gratitude. And the best way to show our gratitude to God is by seeing God in one another, right? By loving and giving of ourselves to one another. So I'm so blessed to have an opportunity to show my gratitude with God by coming before you today and giving you a beautiful, warm welcome to Muhammad's Mosque number 46.
Yes, ma'am.
Brothers and sisters, as you all know, we're living in some serious times. But regardless of the time, God always comes on time and in time. So that we have the opportunity to hear from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which is a teaching that's handcrafted for us because we are the people of God. And so it's such a blessing to be here and to receive this word. And I'm so happy that your hearts are open, that your minds are open, that your spirits are open to receive this word. We're going to have a wonderful presentation today. But before we get into that, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for submitting to our procedure, right?
Yes,
when you go into someone's house, they might do things a little different than you, right? If I go to my aunt's house, she might, we don't sit on the couch. It's plastic on it. We don't. It's there. It's beautiful, but we don't sit on that couch, right? That's a little. And when you go into someone's house, even though you might not necessarily understand their way, out of respect and gratitude, sometimes we submit to that. We say, okay, well, how do you do things, right? Or you could be so uncomfortable with the way that they do things that you say, you know what? I ain't going over Auntie Diane's house. They just do the most, right? So we are so grateful to you all for submitting to our way and our procedure, which truly, once we come to understand, we understand that it's the way of God. And there's a reason and a purpose for the way that we do things. So we want to thank you for submitting to our check procedure, because the check procedure is a mercy unto us. It was given to us by God himself, Master Fard Muhammad, when he came in 1930. So this is not a new thing, right? When you see check procedures at the airport and in businesses and in courthouse, trust and believe that is marked and modeled after the way of God, right? Because the way that God gave us came first. So, we have our check procedure. It's to make sure that we are all, that you can be comfortable. If you don't go anywhere in the world and feel the comfort and the peace that God intends for you to have, you will have that comfort and peace when you come into the house of God. We want you to know that you're safe here, that we love you, and when you love a thing, you protect a thing, right? So and every single person that comes in this building submits to the check procedure, and that's a sign of unity and equality. And God came that we may be made equal, right? So when you come and you submit to the check, it's a sign that we are all brothers and sisters. From the minister to the laborers to the children, everyone comes on an equal playing field. And so there's signs and wisdom in the way of God. And so we thank you for submitting to that check procedure. We thank you for submitting to our seating arrangement. After you go to check, you come upstairs and you're like, okay, so not only do these people want to touch all of me, but now I can't even sit next to the person I'm comfortable with. But again, brothers and sisters, there's so much wisdom in the way that God does things. Because after he brings you into the comfort of his peace, his way, and his safety, he now introduces you to yourself. Right? And there's a distinguishment between us, between the male and the female. We are alike but unalike. And there's beauty in the differences that God makes with us, in the differences that God makes with us. And we can only know God in our difference if we recognize and accept that difference. And so God, this separation is a sign of that. But it also is recognition to the power of our magnetism, the power of our unity, right? As men and women, we have a natural inclination towards one another. But our first and foremost inclination to be to God himself. So this seating arrangement is a sign that, yes, we are powerful when we are together, but we are most powerful when we are bound to the reality of God. And so we thank you for submitting to this seating arrangement. We thank you for being willing to open up your hearts and your minds to receive and to become one with God through his word, right? All praises are due to Allah. So brothers and sisters, I'm not going going to be before you long at all. I just want you to know that you are loved, and we are so happy for you to be here, right? And even if this is your first time or your 1,000th time, know that this is your home, that this is where you belong. And if you don't go anywhere else in the world and someone calls you brother or sister, know that when you come here, you truly are a brother and a sister. So brothers and sisters, at this time, I'm going to leave you as I came before you in the nation's greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Praise be to Allah. And I'm going to welcome to the rostrum our local student captain, Sister Captain, Sister Mishan Sadiq.
Allahu Akbar. That's praise be to Allah. That's right. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is only one God who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. I further bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is our exalted Christ, and that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is our divine reminder in our midst. I greet you all in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, ma'am.
How y'all doing?
Hi, ma'am.
It's a nice, beautiful summer day out there, huh?
Right?
Very beautiful. I was out early this morning and I'm like, I'm sweating. Why is it so hot so early in the morning? But praise be to Allah, I'm very grateful to be alive and grateful to have another day and an opportunity to get it right. And of course, I'm coming up to talk about our health talk today. And today I'm going to talk about addiction. A surprising addiction. Let's talk about it. It's real. So in How to Eat to Live, Book 2, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad says, eat one meal a day or one meal every other day. And if we prolong your life, do not think that you will starve. On the contrary, you will be treating yourself to life. And a life filled with sickless days. Sickless days, he says. You can hardly get sick eating this way. I know because I have this experience. If you eat the proper food which I have given to you from Allah in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise be forever, in this book you will hardly ever have a headache. So I read that because the addiction I'm going to talk about today is one we've talked about before, is sugar addiction.
Yes. Help us out.
So I was reading on addiction.com, and it's actually a diagnosable addiction these days, brothers and sisters. Did you all know that?
No.
It says that over 75%, so if we count every fourth person, that's the person that doesn't have a sugar addiction. Wow. So all of us, most of us, about 12 of us in the room. So in this room, there's probably only 3 of us that don't have a sugar addiction. The rest of us probably have some type of overconsumption of sugar. And it's because we consume it not only in our candies and in our coffee, but in the processed foods that we eat. So even the grains that we eat, if you read a package of bread, it has sugar in it. If you box of whole wheat noodles, it has sugar in it. So most of us are consuming sugar on a daily basis and probably every meal that we're eating. So we have to look into that and let's talk about how does this happen. So some of us, after a long day of work, or when we wake up in the morning, how many I won't say this. When you wake up in the morning, you need a cup of coffee and a cup of tea, or you need a bagel, or all of that. So when you start your day, you're more likely, unless you drink your coffee black and unless you drink your tea without any sugar, you're consuming sugar as soon as you wake up in the morning. And after doing that on a routine basis, you get a dependency on that. So some of us, when we're having a stressful day, we need a cookie or a slice of bean pie, just to give you that fix. And there's a chemical, there's a dopamine that's actually released from the sugar that gives you that enjoyable feeling. How many of you have eaten up some ice cream or something, and when you eat it, you're like, That's that dopamine, that dopamine dope. And they actually compare that, Brother Dwayne dancing back there. And yeah, you like that. But it's actually a chemical that's released with that sugar dopamine that actually gives you that enjoyable feeling. So it's not that, brothers and sisters, you overeat they are putting something in there that makes you feel good. And the sugar addiction, we said this before, is like a cocaine addiction. Once you start there, it's hard to get away from it. You have that fix. You actually have to go through a withdrawal period in order to get the sugar out your system. So there's a short-term high that you get, that dopamine release, but over time, there are long-term effects of it. So we get obese, we get diabetes, and it's special risk for people who have anxiety and stress because of that dopamine fix that we get. So if you're anxious and you're stressed, you don't want to start doing the sugar. Even if you already do the sugar, you have to realize that because you're already in this low mood, you're fixing your low mood by eating sugar as opposed to addressing the real issue. What's causing you the anxiety? What's causing you the stress? Everybody all right?
Yes, ma'am.
A few more points before I get off here. So when you're tired, you might eat. There's another way that I'm talking about, ways that you can identify that you have a sugar dependency. So if you're tired and you reach for sugar, so how many times have you been tired and you wanted a soda, or you wanted some coffee, all of those things? So that's a sign that your body is addicted to sugar because you're tired. It needs some kind of pick-me-up. So instead of resting, you're craving a sugar to give you that high. When you think about when we go through Ramadan, and when you're fasting from Ramadan, how at the end of the day, like sisters, you can bear witness, you get hangry, like it's time to fix the food. That day is like, something doesn't make me happy about you right now. It's because you're having that sharp decrease in sugar and you need it, so you're very irritable. So that's your body saying that what you normally give me to fix this problem, I'm not getting it right now. And so I'm tired, I'm irritable, I'm at an emotional low, and there are other things that go on in your body. So those are signs that your body is craving the sugar and you need to fix it. So if you eat large amounts of it, and you eat, like if you, instead of eating one cookie, you gotta eat 2, 3, 4, 5 cookies, that's another sign that you have a huge sugar craving. If you're bored, I mean, I deal with this with my youngest daughter. She loves sugar as well. She's bored and she wants a donut or something. I'm like, that's not the answer. You're bored, do something, not eating sugar. Or if you eat sugar and you dancing like Brother Dwayne was talking about, and then you crash, or you go from dancing until you like, now you got a downer. So those are other signs that you should do. So brothers and sisters, what we need to do to actually fix this in closing is we need to do sugar detoxes. We need to put our body on some type of 21-day, 30-day fast from sugar. No processed foods, no candy, and none of those stuff. And if you really want to fix yourself, what they tell you is that you should even stay away from fruits that have a high sugar content, so that you can get Brother Dwayne. But there are sugar. Brother Dwayne looked the other way, y'all. He doesn't want to give up the fruit. Just for a 21-day period, if you want to. If you just get rid of the processed foods, the sugary foods, that's fine for a 21 to 30-day period. And one of the things that you can add to your meals to help you with that sugar downer is adding protein. Now, MGT, I need you to help me. What is one food that we know of that has a good protein complex? Navy bean. So if you're eating navy bean, have a small portion of navy beans in your soup, in your meal every day, that's another protein. Or adding something like eggs, your fish, all of those, having a little extra piece of fish as opposed to having your piece of dessert. Y'all all right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let me close out from a reading from the most honorable Elijah Muhammad from How to Eat to Live. In closing, diabetes, you should not eat too much of any starchy foods. You should be careful of eating this type of food. So brothers and sisters, once again, our prescription for a short period of time, we'll see the benefits. But if we live by a long term,
let us give Sister Michonne another round of applause. And also Sister Malika, who opened up so beautiful for us this morning. Assalamu alaikum. In the most holy name of Allah, the beneficent, the most merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah who came to us. Listen carefully. Who came to us in the person of Master Fard Muhammad.
come on.
The long-awaited Messiah of the Christians and the Mahdi of the Muslims. So You know, Assalamu alaikum again. I'd like to greet you with peace and paradise. I'm excited because, you know, when my sisters came before me, Sister Malika energized my thoughts because she started talking about the love.
Yes.
That what this represents when we submit. We've submitted to some law. Yeah, this was a law of check.
Come on,
you know,
man.
this was our check procedure. So all of us who submitted to the check procedure got to come upstairs.
Yes.
See, you submitted to sitting on that side, brothers. You submitted to sitting on this side, except for my granddaughter. She tried to sit on, but she's on it too. But we had to like move for all the brothers. She was screaming. I came in there, what is going on? My grandson said, she's trying to sit over here with the brothers. So we have in our environment, he loves you.
Come on.
See, he ain't just talking this game.
Yeah.
See, he's showing us, I love you, that I thought about the way you're going to come and sit inside of the mosque. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
That you will not have a brother, you don't have no brother sitting next to you with no AK-47.
Not at all.
With no blade in his pocket.
No.
We already took it from him.
Come on.
Sister over here, you gotta worry about that sister who, you know, she's so jealous of you. She's been jealous of you since she was in elementary school.
Wow.
And finally she gets a chance to sit next to you. You are not gonna be harmed by her because we've taken every weapon out of our person.
Right.
Cigarette lighters, fingernail files, they're gone.
Right.
So look at the God who came with that kind of love. So my subject matter today is help me, Sister Sean, I almost forgot. The importance of the love of self.
Okay.
See, I just got the message yesterday, so forgive me. I'm a little new at it. So the importance of love of self. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says, you cannot separate self from God. Allah, we say Allah in Arabic. It just means God, the all in all. With God, because Allah is the creator of self. See, we're talking about you and I. Look in the mirror while I'm reading. If you don't have love, you don't have life. These are the same words. The Bible says, there is a way which seemeth right. See, Islam is mathematics. And mathematics is Islam. To be true, because it's a true science. So God, so whatever you see on this side is equal to that side. Got it? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we are created, and this is not him saying it, he's quoting the scripture. We are created in the image and likeness of who? God. So we can then say that you sitting there, you're sitting there again. The scripture says that we believe some of it to be true, but we're going to believe this one to be true because we have proven it to be true. That you are made in the image and likeness of God. So that we can say yourself is what?
God.
That sounds like a claim. God. Right? I'll put this, I'll keep myself out of it right now. You are love.
Yeah.
Praise be to Allah. I gotta speak. See how I am back to it again, the importance of self-love. Into my driveway, unloading my grandchildren and say, but when we can speak the word of Allah coming out of the mouth of the man, Minister Louis Farrakhan,
right.
the man, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and from Allah in person of Master Father Muhammad, we can't go wrong.
That's right.
Oh, praise to Allah. Brothers and sisters, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, my captain, after she gave me those instructions, so when we brought her up as I will check this article out. And I did. So I want to thank our captain for helping me. She's not upstairs before. But that is love. And that is wanting for your sister what you want for yourself.
That's right.
So she didn't keep it under a bushel basket. She gave it to me. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had a female guest over to his home. And after the evening was over, the sister asked the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan, how do you love, or how have you grown? I've watched you grow into so much love for your people. Tell me how it is. Let me know what have you done, or what can you let me know what to do to love the people like you love them?
Come on.
He said he saw the words as they came out of his mouth. And these are the words from the scripture, from the Bible. It says, love God with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And love your neighbor as yourself. Excuse me, as yourself. See, that go back to self. He says, God says in the scripture, on these 2 commandments hang all of the law and the prophets. So the love, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that love is the greatest law of them all. Said law is love? Yeah, remember when Jesus said, and this I commanded you to do, that you love one another even as I have loved you? Is that correct? Yes. So the greatest of all of these loves, of all of these laws, is the law of love. See, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he said that the person that you see as self, see, you and I think that this Negro that we look at every day who has shortcomings is that one that we are. But that is not us.
That's right. That's right.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, English lesson C1, the question is answered. What is thine own self? Thine own self is a righteous Muslim. See, that's you and I. We are not the Negro that we see, we saw a few years ago. We are now being awakened. And in our lessons, it said, can a fool see that a mighty change is in progress in every living creature? So you stepped in Muhammad's mouth today. You are certainly not the Negro that you used to be. Because the Negro that you used to be would not have set foot in Muhammad's mouth. So give yourselves a round of applause, brothers and sisters. Now I must end this because I see our main course coming up, so I got to end this. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as he goes on to tell this sister about how he grew into love with himself, because he said you cannot love anybody else unless you love yourself. So he gave her some instructions as she left. He said, do this, and so I'm going to ask each and every one of you to do this. He said, write down all of the things, not some, all of the things that you like about yourself. He said, and then when you finish that, flip it over. And then write down the things, and he didn't use the word all in this one. He said, write down the things, and he didn't say that you hate. He said that you don't like about yourself. Because he never wanted to impose self-hatred back on you. So he just said, don't like about yourself. And then he said, those are the things that you go to work on. So do we agree that we're going to try to do that? It helped me. I said, I need to start doing that. I need to start evaluating, because I know I don't like everything about myself. And I cannot to the degree love you until I love myself. So brothers and sisters, I'd like to thank you as I came before you in the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu Alaikum. Thank you all so much for being attentive. Thank you, brothers and sisters. And so this is a hard, when they told me I got to bring this brother up, I was like, man, I'm about to write some stuff. And Allah said, no, you just speak from your heart about what you believe. So I want to say that when Brother Willie, when he goes and he asks some of us to be on the ministry staff, because sometimes we're asked. I want to say that he made a wise choice when this brother came back to town. He's like, we got to get him back on the ministry staff. And so not only has he obeyed the commandments, check that out, of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and taken the information of us auditing and Scientology and Dianetics under, and I'll just use the term Dianetics, under his belt, and he probably got a black belt by right now, I think. You know what I'm saying? You know, and still climbing up the ladder.
Come on.
So and he brings that to us to once again help us to fall in love with ourselves. So we want to bring this brother up, and you all just put your seatbelts on, because I'm always at the edge of my seat when he's teaching.
Right.
So y'all might as well sit a little bit up to the edge, because that's what's going to happen. So I'd like to leave you as I came before you in the greeting words of peace and bring up a mighty soldier for Allah, Brother Lawrence Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, the great Mahdi, to whom all holy praises forever due. I want to thank Allah for His intervention in our affairs and raising up from among us a divine leader, teacher, and guide, in the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the exalted and the risen Christ. And we can never thank them both enough for leaving in our midst our big brother, our champion, our redeemer, our with the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sir.
How are we doing today?
Fine, sir.
All praise is due to Allah, and to and fine by Allah's grace and permission. I want to thank those who came before me, who spoke before me, Sister Lenora, Sister Malika, Sister Mishan. I want to thank them for all the work that they do. And just to kind of give a little extra something, I want to thank them also for last week. If you did not see them last week, you need to go to Mars 46 AV on YouTube and rewatch that.
Oh my God.
That was powerful.
Yes, indeed.
Because they were bringing the word of God, but not only bringing the word of God through actual words, but through their appearance, through their demeanor, through their character, and of course through the spirit. Dealing with the women in Islam. Right? And so it's like, my sister Malika, man, she gave a lecture. I had to go back and parse that
I
thing.
know that's right.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't know she was doing it like that.
Yeah.
So, by Allah's grace and permission, that's a hard act to follow. But I will strive, by Allah's grace and permission, to do the best that I can. Student Minister Willie, I want to thank him for giving me the opportunity to come before you today. He's out of town. He's in the city of Houston today. And they had a graduation at the school in Houston. And by Allah's grace, he will be delivering the keynote address today. So, you know, we have to fill in. So we're just going to get right down to it.
Yes, sir.
Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
The title of today's talk is, what does it mean to be free? Some of us tell them that they are not free. And this is simply because we really don't know what freedom is. So, I have my notes with me, and I want you to bear patiently with me, and we can get through this thing by God's grace and permission. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote in What the Muslims Want on the back page of the Final Call newspaper. Get the Final Call newspaper. Please don't forget to get this. This is the baddest paper on the planet.
Right.
But when you get this paper, you go to the back page. Because people was always asking Mr. Muhammad, what do you all want?
Right.
What do the Muslims believe? So he wrote it down and put it on the back of the paper for everyone to see. So here you have what the Muslims want, what the Muslims believe. Now, there's one point he says, we want freedom. We want a full and complete freedom. Period. Right? How many of you want freedom? Raise your hand. How many of you want a full and complete freedom?
What is that?
Because there's a difference between just having freedom
Right. That's right.
and having a full and complete freedom. Now, I looked in the dictionary because that's what you do.
Yeah, mom.
They do their best to give us the definition of words.
That word.
And according to the dictionary, freedom is the state of being free or liberty rather than in confinement or under physical restraint. It also means exemption from external control, regulation. But then there's another one, the power to determine action without restraint. But out of all the definitions I read, there is a philosophical definition. And I think this fits more appropriately. The philosophical definition states that freedom is the power to exercise choice and make decisions without constraint from within or without. Autonomy, self-determination. See? So being prevented from making decisions from within ourselves or from without. Because sometimes when we talk about freedom, we don't talk or even think about the restrictions and the restraints that's coming from right up within ourselves. So, you know, I like to give things from a different perspective. So look, as a free person, you are able to determine what it is that you want to do. What's in your best interest and what you want to be without anyone, including our own selves, holding us back.
Come on. Go ahead.
Shackles on the feet are terrible. The shackles on the mind is even worse.
Yes, sir.
In fact, shackles on the mind is the worst restraint and constraint of them all, which we'll get into in a little bit, inshallah. Cobra. And he used the example of nature and the creatures that Allah has created. He says, notice how in nature the creature is able to grow into its fullest potential, to be what Allah God created it to be, to reproduce itself and then die. We all right?
Yes, sir.
He said that we have never been allowed to grow to the fullest manifestation of who we are. There is always a Caucasian reality and a wicked system that is at the head of your desire to rise. He says, some of us are tired of bucking a wall, a system, knocking at a door that doesn't seem to open for us until we get tired. Then our children are looking at us and they are asking, what happened? You are saying the same old thing, doing the same old thing. And not making the changes that's necessary to satisfy the desire for growth and development. So the child says, Mommy, Daddy, what's wrong? And Mommy and Daddy responds, what's wrong is that I've lost the zeal to fight. So when the enemy puts the ceiling up, I didn't develop what it takes to break the ceiling. Here's mommy and daddy still talking. I stayed in a system that broke me. So I died without fully realizing who I am and who God made me to be. Because I'm not yet free. Think about that. So let's unpack this thing by Allah's grace and permission so that we can see a little better and be more effective in working towards our full and complete freedom. Y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, I want to give you a little something, and then you're going to be like, oh, snap. I didn't realize this, Brother Lawrence. I didn't realize some of this stuff either until I started doing this research. So look, the restraint of our freedom started with a lie that led to our chattel slavery. It started with deception. So in our supreme wisdom lessons that were given to us by Master Farad Muhammad is English lesson C1.
Yes.
It reads, quote, can the devil fool a Muslim? I was like, that's interesting. But it says, not nowadays.
Right.
Do you mean to say that the devil fooled them 379 years ago? Yes. The traitor made an interpretation.
That's right.
That they received gold for their labor more than they were earning in their own country. Well, then did they receive gold?
No.
No. The traitor disappeared. And there was no one that could speak their language. Then what happened? Well, they wanted to go to their own country, but they could not swim 9,000 miles. That is the history of your and my slavery.
Come on, teach.
Restraint and the deterioration of our freedom.
Teach.
I want you to think about this because this is really interesting. It says the traitor made an interpretation. So an interpretation is not really an outright lie.
Right.
Right.
An interpretation is my opinion of what someone else has said, has written, has drawn, has given to us, and I give you what I think it
Come
means.
on, teach.
But in this particular instance, the word traitor is capitalized in order to bring attention to who the traitor is.
Yes.
So his interpretation was deliberate deception.
Come on.
Talk about him. Come on.
All right, look, man. So his interpretation turned out to be a lie, and he played on our greed.
That's right.
See, a lot of times we don't like to look at us. Minister Farrakhan said the only way that somebody can trick and fool you like with these get-rich-quick schemes is if you already that type of person. If you and I don't have that kind of mindset in us that we want to get over, then nobody else can't get over on us unless we have that mindset.
That's right.
So the traitor came to us and made an interpretation. He had been living among us already for at least 20 years before he came up with the interpretation. And in that, he went back to his brothers. He said, I've been living among these people all this time. And the one thing that has never happened to them is that they have never been lied to. Because we, at home, man, we lie for what? We're amongst our own. We don't have to lie to one another. But this new man came in and he studied us. And he's like, these are truthful people, man. They don't lie or anything. So that's the way we can get them.
That's right.
That's right.
Now, so he played on our greed. This is why charity is so important. Giving is so important. That's why in Islam, prayer is number one, or belief is number one. You get prayer, but then it's closely followed by charity.
Come on.
Why? Because giving, it does not allow outside forces to manipulate our desire for money and make us to make rash, life-changing or life-altering decisions. So from a lie and our greed and our vanity, we wound up here in North America as slaves in physical bondage. As such, our minds and our bodies were used to make this country and the world filthy rich. We had no control over our own body or our mind. We were the property of another man, and we had to do what he willed. And we had no say-so in the matter. So we lost our freedom. Now that was over 400 years ago. And we are still begging our former slave masters for the right to vote. Did you catch that?
Yes, sir. It's true.
I know you say, but we have the Voting Rights Act, and I voted for Barack Obama. But if you look at your news, as late as yesterday, the courts had to strike down a gerrymandering law. Gerrymandering is moving voting lines and voting blocks so that it will benefit one party over another. So the Democrats and the Republicans are both trying to manipulate the voting lines for their supporters in the areas where they are and try to compact them so that the poor people are left outside of the lines. And you can't vote for the candidate that you want to vote for because you are not in that district. The Voting Rights Act has to come up every few years for renewal. What if you are a citizen and you have the right to vote? Why do you have to get it renewed every so often? Do white folks get their voting rights renewed at any time?
No, sir.
There was the women's suffrage movement. Women were not allowed to vote. White women. You know, white women weren't allowed to vote, so they was upset. They wasn't upset as long as you couldn't vote. But when they couldn't vote, it was an issue. But when is the last time that you heard of the suffrage movement being revisited for white women?
Go ahead, brother.
But for all black people, you got to come check in with us, man. They like your PO. And you got to check in with them every so often to see if you are worthy of having your rights renewed again. That's not a full and complete freedom.
Go ahead, T.
Praise be to Allah. I'm marking up. Jobs and justice. 19, what was the march on DC? 63?
That's right.
What was the theme? Jobs and justice. Then they had a revisiting of that march. And the theme was jobs and justice. We are still fighting for them just to recognize that Black Lives Matter.
Come on. Look at that.
Look, they said, go to school and get a good education.
That's what they said.
And then you can get a good job.
Good job. Good job.
But when you graduate, they change the qualifications for the job.
Right.
Or they take that job and send it overseas.
Right.
Or they give your job to a machine.
That's right.
Man, we all right?
Yes, sir.
So look, in fact, the education that we receive isn't even real education as much as it is a training and a schooling to fit into society. I believe it was Woodrow Wilson. I believe it was, but it's one of the presidents who was a chancellor over a university. And he said, we want two classes of people. He said, one of them, we want to be a class that will be those who will benefit. They will be at the top. We will benefit from the work of the others. We want the other class to be the laboring class. And the school system, the university and higher educational system was built on that model. So you go to the quote-unquote Ivy League schools, and those are the ones whose sons and daughters go there, who become politicians, who become bankers, and who become all of these different things. But yet you go to these other schools, and the only thing you can get is a degree to get a job.
Right.
We all right?
Yes, sir.
Y'all getting a little quiet on me, but it's all right. So look, we take that education that we do get, and then we give it right back to the same people who gave it to us. We don't take that information and bring it back to our own community to build up our own community. That's the sign of a dead people.
Yes, sir.
All right. So look. They constrained us physically. And then Abraham Lincoln supposedly freed us. But Abraham Lincoln never freed us.
Oh, wow.
Abraham Lincoln didn't even use the word free.
Come on. Different.
He used the word emancipate.
Come on.
Teach.
What's the difference?
And we just finished celebrating Juneteenth.
Right.
See? The whole rest of the country knew that they were supposedly free.
Right.
Except black folks in Texas.
Right.
Texas, boy. When it finally got to them, 2 years later, 2 whole years, that they were free. Now the slave master knew they were free.
Right. Come on.
But he like, they don't know. So I'm going to let them keep being a slave for these 2 more years or until somebody comes to let them know.
Right.
So we celebrate that
Right.
as Juneteenth.
Come on.
But the word emancipate does not mean to free.
Come on.
The word emancipate means to, and I'm going to give the exact definition. I don't even want you to think that it's just me. It means to free from the hand, but not necessarily from the mind and the control.
Yes, sir.
So we did not physically have chains on us anymore, on our bodies, but we did still have chains on our minds.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
All right? Now, when someone has control of your mind, he has control over your very being. This mind control is used to break the will to be free. And in most cases, this mind control is used to make you and I think that we are already free. It is a false sense of freedom, but we don't enjoy the fruits of freedom. So whoever controls the mind can only mold you into himself.
Right.
Did you catch that?
Yes, sir.
Whoever controls our minds can only make us into themselves.
Right.
So if white people control the mind and thinking of black people, then he can only make you into a devil.
My God. Oh, tell right.
In order to truly be free, our mind has to be in submission and under the control of God,
Yes, sir.
so that he can make you and I into a God. Y'all didn't catch that. You didn't catch that. If the one who controls the mind can only make you into himself, well, if God controls our mind, then who do you and I become?
God.
All right then. Some people don't like you to call them a God. Why don't you want to be a God? What would you rather be then?
Teach.
People literally get upset when you call them a God. I'm not no God. Then what are you?
Teach.
See, this is the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Come on.
Elijah Muhammad don't come to make messengers.
Come on.
He don't come to just make prophets.
That's right.
Elijah Muhammad comes to make God.
Teach.
All praises due to Allah. Now, if you don't want to be made into a God, you can step right back into the world again. And you'll be what this world makes us. Had to be careful with those words. So look. So here we go. What is the true potential of the original black man? Some of us don't like to be called black either. We think that's a curse. I'm African American. I was a Negro. Colored. Now we are African American. I don't know no people in the world that let another people name them. Black people didn't come up with that name, African Americans. White people came up with that terminology and put it on your census. White people came up with the terminology colored. White people came up with Negro. And then the NAACP, and bear witness to this if you know this, the NAACP sued the United States of America because they did not spell Negro with a capital N.
That's right.
The word Negro means dead, without life, neither this nor that. It comes from the root word necro. So whenever you want to talk about dead things, you will put necro in front of it. Necropolis, the city of the dead. People who are infatuated and love to have sex with corpses. Necrophiliacs. So here we are. We were proud to be called Negro and wanted a big N on the front. Man, we dead, man. So look, yes, you are in fact the original people of the planet Earth. And you are black. Not because you are cursed. The minister said you are black because you are first. Blackness is a badge of honor.
Come on.
Everybody in the world wants to be black. They don't like black people, but they want to be black.
That's right.
They love our culture. They love our music. They love our swagger.
That's right.
But if you ask them if they want to trade places with us, that's a whole different thing.
Ain't doing that.
So what is the potential of the original black man? Our potential is to become perfect reflections of the originator of the heavens and the earth. We are able to manifest the attributes of Allah God and exercise the power and dominion in our sphere of influence. This is some deep stuff, man. I hope we really take it. I'm learning as I'm saying it. This is interesting. Let's go to the Bible very quickly. Genesis 1:26. And God said, let us make man. Well, how are you going to make the man? In our image and after our likeness. Not only that, he's going to give the man power and dominion over the fowl of the air, the fish of the sea, and every creeping thing that crawls on the earth. That is not a man as you and I know men and women today. That is a God. Because only God has that kind of power. So the God was saying, we're going to make him in our image. What is an image? An image is a picture. An image is a reflection. So when you get up and look in the mirror, you are seeing an image of yourself. You all right?
Yes, sir.
So if you and I are made in the image of God, then I must look like God. Then we're going to make the man after our likeness.
Come on now.
Likeness deals with traits and characteristics, attributes. So I have the image of God, I look like God, and I also have the attributes of God. So that I am now, once I submit my will to do God's will, I am able to exercise that which he has given to me. That makes me a little God.
Come on now.
Under the big God. Ye are all gods, children of the Most High God. That's in the Bible.
Yes, sir.
But the Christians don't like you to call them God. Jesus was going back and forth with the Jews in the book of John. And they were, playing the dozens. But they were trying to kill Jesus. Jesus said, for which one of my good works do you stone me?
Right.
They said, look, man, we're not stoning you because of the works that you do.
Come on, T.
There's wisdom in that. They said, we stone you because you, being a man, maketh yourself God. That's in the book.
Right.
There's no special Muslim Bible.
That's right.
This the one that everybody got.
Right.
King James and, this King James version right here. It's not like Imam, Muhammad, Ibn, whatever's Bible. You can go to any bookstore and get one of these and read that. But look at Jesus' reply. They said, we stoned you because you was being a man, make it yourself God. And then Jesus turned around and he said, wait a minute. Isn't it written in your law
Right. Your law.
that you are gods? So why don't you and I want to be God?
Come on with it.
All right. So God makes this man, Adam, gives him power and dominion over everything. In the Holy Quran, it says that Allah created this man, this atom of black mud. and fashioned him into shape. He breathed into that man of his inspiration. And he became a living soul. But then check this out. He taught Adam all of the names. Now, that to the average person, that doesn't sound like much. Okay, yeah, that's a deer, that's a horse, that's an elephant, that's this, that's that. But look, to be taught all of the names. It didn't say all the names of the animals, of the creatures. It said all of the names of anything that exists. Adam was taught the name of that. See, white folks don't have meaning behind their name.
That's right.
They're Mr. Culpepper, Underbridge, Overbrook, Mr. Black, Mr. White, Mr. Green. When they have a name, you ask them what their name means. It don't mean nothing. But the original people, we named ourselves and we named creation after the nature of that thing. So whenever you and I know the name of a thing, we know the nature in which that thing is created. And once you know the nature of a thing, you can master that thing. Ah, you didn't get that. Say it again. Man. So God was giving this new man, Adam, the power over all of his creation. Do you know any black people with that kind of power? Today. Do you know any black people in your life with that kind of power? Besides Farrakhan? You know us, man, and with that kind of power. Do you know any black people besides Farrakhan, Elijah, and Farad? We have been mastered by the ones who have usurped that power from us. The white man has power over the forces, well, not really the forces, some of the forces of nature. Not all. He does now. Sometimes we don't like to give the white man credit. Like that he ain't nothing. The white man is a god.
That's right.
A god. Not the God.
That's right.
But he has power over what you and I eat.
Yeah.
He has power over what you and I drink. But how many of you, that's not even really exercising life and death. That's just stupidity. Because you're not even thinking. That's just reactionary, that what we're doing. All right, I'm going to move it along. What time is it? Oh my God, I'm like on page 2. Time moving fast. All right, still. And kept us to the black man, which we should all get. On page 185, 186, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about a man named Henry Berry. Henry Berry. He was speaking in the Virginia House of Delegates in 1832 concerning us. He says, quote, "We have as far as possible closed every avenue by which light may enter the slave's mind.
My God.
If we could extinguish the capacity to see the light, our work would be complete. They would then be on a level with the beasts of the field, and we should be safe." End quote. That's them in the United States government. Now that little quote has a lot in it. I can't unpack all of it. But one of the words or phrases that he says, if we could extinguish the capacity. See, that's a devil, man. They don't even want you to have the capacity to see the light. Not let them just block the light. You know, that's one thing. I'm just standing in front blocking the light. You ever seen anybody especially back in the days, you watching the football game or whatever, and somebody just comes stand right in front of the TV? Boy, you not made of glass. Right? That's what they say. You're not made of glass. But that's one thing. You can just move out of the way. Because they've only blocked your ability to see the light. But what if that person standing in front of the television turned around, walked up to you, and punched you in the eye? Now he has extinguished the capacity, the ability for you to even see the television. So even if he moved, you're still blind. Even though they took off the chains, we are still enslaved.
Yes, sir.
One of the attributes of Allah is knowledge. Access to knowledge is a human right. Anyone that does not want you to have access to knowledge and actively blocks that access is your enemy.
That's right.
And they are the enemy of God.
Yes, sir.
It is the knowledge of God and the knowledge of self that frees the human being. Anyone that doesn't want that for you wants to make you their slave and restrict your freedom. So look, we're going to get into this potential right quick because we don't have a lot of time. Well, these are the study guides that were given to us by Mr. Louis Farrakhan. And I want to read something to you from these study guides. This is from The Will of God. And he's talking about the human being. He says this. In the Holy Quran, it constantly reminds us that Allah's command is just be, and it is. But this is not some spooky term such as abracadabra or open sesame. When Allah God says be, I want you to check this out. When he says be, he summons the power of his own being, his creative mind and will to bring about that which he wills. When Allah says be, this is an expression of his will, but it is more than just an expression of his will. For when he says be, he arranges forces, resources, angels, people according to a plan to bring about the fruition of his will. That's why in church you have what's called God's plan of salvation. God does not wing it. God has a strategy.
Yes.
He has a blueprint.
Come on now.
A step-by-step manual
Teach.
whereby you and I can be free.
Go ahead.
But what do? Do we wake up in the morning with a plan for that day? Do we wake up in the morning with a plan for our life? Or do we just wing life? Do we just say, let it come as it may? Do we let life handle us? Or do we handle life? Well, you and I can't handle life without a plan. And since God plans, and he's the best of planners, and he made and created you and I after himself. So why shouldn't you and I plan? We have become too spooky as a people. We think stuff just happens by osmosis. God don't even believe in a mystery God.
Teach.
Go ahead, Mom.
Go
I had to
ahead.
laugh at that myself. But that's true.
Come on.
God don't believe in a mystery God. In our lessons, it asks the question, who is that mystery God? There is not a mystery God. The Son of Man has searched for that mystery God for trillions of years and was unable to find a mystery God. So they have agreed that the only God is the Son of Man. And they lose no time searching for that does not exist. So we sitting around here still looking up in the sky for a house to drop down, for a car to drop down, for some money to drop down out the sky. All of that stuff is made of the earth. So if you want that, yes, you pray to the God, then you get up and go to work.
Come on.
See, that's the part that we miss. We just want to pray and leave it up to God. But you are God.
That's right. You are God.
See, the reason why we don't like to be called God, because when someone calls us a God, that means responsibility. See, as long as I don't have the knowledge of myself and the true knowledge of God, then I can always put the responsibility on Him.
Go ahead.
So we are, I'm a Baptist. I'm a straight Baptist. Grew up Baptist. New Hope Baptist Church, Reverend Freddie H. Dunn. That's my pastor.
That's where you get that preaching from.
You know what I'm saying? And then Pastor Raphael came after him. John Raphael. But look, man, that entails responsibility. And a people who have been stripped of their freedom, we were stripped of responsibility. See, we had no responsibility on the slave plantation. So therefore, for 400 years, you and I have been reproducing ourselves, reproducing children with no responsibility. Somebody else fed us, somebody else clothed us, somebody else told us when to wake up, when to go to bed, when to have sex, when we can be with this one, when we can celebrate. I didn't have to think and plan and do anything for my life. Your and my life was already planned out by the slave master. But when I learned about myself, when I learned the true identity of God, so look what he says. What a wonderful thing, brothers and sisters, that Allah has chosen to share His power with humanity. Think of that. Almighty God Allah, who has created everything by His will, shares His power with you and me. We today have the ability to plan, to organize, and to bring into fruition our plans. We too can say, be, go to work, and it is.
Yes, sir.
That's the potential that is in the original black man.
Yes, sir.
So look, I gotta move quickly. Man. So now, look. Now that we know who we are and our potential, we must start working on reversing the damage that's been done to us by the enemy and striving to live an upright life.
Yes, sir.
Some of us don't like to live an upright life. It's easier to do dirt. See, living right, that requires too much. It requires too much to do right by your brother and your sister. I'd rather scheme and connive with them. All right. Look.
Yes.
Man, it's some heavy stuff. So look, let's work on keeping our word when we give it. See, simple things.
Amen.
That's when we give our word,
Amen.
keep it. If you can't keep it beforehand, let somebody know. Hey, I know I said I was going to do such and such, but I'm unable to do that.
Yes, sir.
If you borrow money from somebody and you say, I'm going to give it back to you next Friday, give it back to them Friday, if not earlier.
Teach.
If you can't do it, call them Wednesday, Tuesday,
Come on.
and say, hey man, something came up. I know I'm supposed to give you this back Friday, but I'm unable to do it. But I will do it by this day.
Yes, sir.
See, that's accountability.
Yes.
That's responsibility.
Yes.
It is.
And the minister said the reason that God is because he is dependable.
Come on.
Yes, he is.
Oh, my God.
Did you catch that?
Yes.
God is God. All of us love God because he keeps his word.
Yes. Teach.
Cannot
That is the making of a God. He cannot lie.
Oh, cannot.
Cannot.
You know the way Elijah Muhammad said there was only two things God couldn't do. Two.
Lie, not fail.
He said God does not and cannot lie. And then he said, well, that's three then since you put fail in there.
Yes.
But he said the other thing is that God is unable to bring another human being onto the planet without the agency of a woman. That happened one time, and one time only. And he locked up that law after he did it.
Come on.
All right. Look at here, man. Time, man. So look. Did you know that sin restricts us from reaching our full potential?
Teach.
Every time that we sin, we restrict the power of our being.
Ooh, teach.
Sin makes us untrustworthy and causes us to be suspicious of other people, even though we are the one that committed the offense.
Speak. Speak.
Have you ever noticed that a man who would cheat on his wife will accuse his wife of cheating,
Teach.
and vice versa?
Teach.
That's science. There's a science behind that. I don't have time to go into it, but there's a science about that.
Teach, brother.
So look, the more we go against the will of God, the less we are able to exercise the power of God. The true power of God comes in on the wings of righteousness.
Come on.
Now, this does not mean that everything is going to be roses,
Teach.
peaches and cream.
That's right.
You know, I've accepted God and accepted responsibility. My life should be a piece of cake from now on. Nah, that's when the struggle begins.
That's right. Yes, Lord.
See, there wasn't no struggle living in this world. This world is wicked and we were being wicked. We were going with the flow. In this world, to be righteous is going against the flow.
Right.
You just became a salmon
Said it lovely all.
in the river, going upstream.
Go ahead.
Life is a struggle. Living a righteous life in a world of sin is even tougher.
on.
But it can be
Yes,
done.
absolutely.
Life is about overcoming struggle.
Glory.
Come on.
Glory.
Learning. Once you and I are overcoming the struggle, we have to learn from it. We have to grow from it and grow closer to our true selves. Now look, I want to read something to you from a book called The Problems of Work.
Come on. Teach it.
Whenever you see brothers hanging out on the corner doing dirt, they just don't want to work. They just ain't got nothing to do. For real. Our brothers don't want to be on the corner doing what they're doing.
That's right.
They don't have anything else to do and they don't have any work to do. A man who will make an honest living that will pay an honest wage will work.
That's right.
But I want you to check this out. He said, let us look at life as a game. Games consist of freedom, barriers, and purposes. Primary among these is the necessity in a game to have an opponent or an enemy. Did you catch that?
Yes, sir.
Every game, you have an opponent
That's right.
or an enemy. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, no man can be considered a champion without an
That's
opponent.
right.
Also, a necessity is to have sufficient individuality to cope with the situation.
Come on, teach.
Meaning have enough freedom, enough autonomy to be able to deal with the situations that arise from your enemy, from your opponent, and from the problem.
Teach.
Now, this individuality and the ability to cope comes with prayer.
Yes, it does.
Prayer gives us the patience to persevere
Yes, it does.
through any situation we may find ourselves in.
Yes,
Yes, it
sir.
does.
So look, he says, to live life fully, then one must have, in addition to something to do, a higher purpose. So yeah, we need something to do, but we also need a purpose in life. What is your purpose in life? Minister Farrakhan said, blessed is the man or woman who finds their purpose in life.
Yes.
He also said, don't go through life looking for pleasure.
Teach.
Look for purpose.
Teach.
Because your purpose will lead to pleasure.
Come on, teach.
Your soul finds rest in purpose.
Yes, it does.
And if you work in your purpose, it's not a job. And you don't get tired. Purpose builds the will to endure, to overcome barriers. Are you with me? So all of us have attributes that we can become perfect in manifesting. The more we submit our will to do the will of God, that is the freeing of our being to express itself. It is He who created us, and He knows exactly what He has given each of us. He knows the route that we should take, and He knows what obstacles to place before us to draw the best out of us. You don't think that obstacles come to us and God don't know nothing about them?
Right.
Barriers are in our way and He don't know nothing about them? God allows those obstacles and those barriers. Sometimes He places them there. Whence comest thou, Satan? Oh, I'm coming up and down to and fro in the earth, seeking whom I may devour. Oh, really? Well, have you considered my servant Job? God volunteered Job. Job was doing his thing. Worshiping God, honoring God, taking care of his family, raising his cattle, doing his thing. God over here making side deals.
Oh, you know your name. You know your name.
But anyway, man, go to that. Job is a heavy study, man. It's a heavy study. So look, don't run from struggle. When we run from struggle, we are in fact running away from our freedom.
Yes, we are. Teach. Teach.
Now look, we're gonna bring it home, man. Oh, we're gonna bring it home. So look. There is a lot of talk today about reparations. Y'all been hearing that?
Yes, sir.
They even meeting in the government
That's right.
talking about reparations, to study reparations. They did a study on reparations 10 years ago.
Before that.
Did a study on reparations before that?
That's right.
They did a study on reparations during Reconstruction.
Right.
But now, they're not meeting now to talk about like giving you reparations. They just want to study to see if you're even worthy of reparations. Huh? All right. But look. Now, all this talk about reparations today, but nobody even really knows what it is.
Right.
Now, I was so inspired last week, I got to take this quote from my sister.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Sister Malika said last week
Go ahead.
that the teachings
Of the
of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is our reparations. And it is the only reparations that we need. Think about that. Praise be to Allah.
I never forget.
Now the root word of reparations is repair.
Come on, teach.
Awesome.
Repair means to restore by replacing a part or putting together what is torn or broken.
My God.
It also means to restore to a sound or healthy state. Now, Caucasian people cannot repair the damage that they have done to us. How are you looking to him to repair us?
Come on, teach. My God.
Money cannot repair the damage that was done to us. Now look, don't get me wrong. Money is good. Money is good, but it won't repair the damage and make us whole again. Minister Farrakhan gave us the 8 steps of atonement to repair the broken man and woman.
Teach.
Look, money won't make us whole again. Because a fool and his money will soon part. And this enemy has surely made us into fools. Only God can repair a broken people.
Teach.
Then and only then will we know what to do with the money. A sick and broken people cannot ask for freedom because he doesn't know what freedom looks like.
That's right.
He can't ask for reparations because he doesn't know what to ask for to be repaired. A fool will ask for money and sell out his own people for it because of greed and a seat at the master's table. So only God has the power to completely repair us and give us a full and complete freedom. Freedom starts in the mind. The teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is that knowledge that will free the mind of the black man and woman. This teaching is the teaching that resonates with the nature of us because it is the nature of us. It is the teachings that has been kept away from us that Jesus spoke of. Jesus said, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." What truth was that? Huh? Jesus never gave that truth.
That's right. He said freedom doesn't.
Find it in the scripture where he gave it. He just told the people you didn't have it. But I'm about to go away. But there's somebody coming after me. That one is going to guide you into all truth.
That's right.
Free.
See, he says it's expedient for you that I go away. I used to think the word expedient means fast, quickly. You know, we'd be like, andale, andale. But expedient doesn't mean pace or speed. Expedient means it's beneficial for you. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
So why is it beneficial for us, for Jesus to leave? We need you, Jesus.
Oh, man.
We want you among us. You help us, you guide us, you make us who we are supposed to be. Why is it better for us that you leave us? Because I have been teaching you all this time and deposited something in you, but you have not reached and realized what's in you. And the only way you will realize that is if I'm gone. And you have to fend for yourself. And then what's in you will start to come out of you. Praise be to Allah. So look. Out of all of the students of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan stayed in the class. And he submitted to his teacher. And today, when you look at him, you are looking at a free black man.
That's right.
Let me say that one more time.
That's right.
When you and I look at Farrakhan, you and I are looking at a free black man.
Yes, sir.
He does not bow to the enemy
That's
and
right.
make excuses where none exist.
That's right.
He stands on the truth and stands on God.
Come on.
And he is successful.
Yes.
His life is the blueprint to freedom.
God.
Yes, sir.
Jesus said, I am the way. Huh? The way,
The way.
the route, the pattern. Do what you see me do. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Copy my life. And if you copy my life and walk in my footsteps, you will become what I am.
Amen.
So in our lessons, we are taught to copy the answers of Minister Elijah Muhammad. Why are we told to copy the answers of Elijah Muhammad? Because God was making Elijah Muhammad into himself.
Come on.
And if we followed Elijah, we would too be made into a God.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That's it.
So look, man, his life is the blueprint to freedom. Don't you want to be free?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Don't you want to be able to tell a white man go to hell and mean it?
Yes,
sir.
And mean
And
it.
mean it, and that's it.
And not under your breath.
Yeah, like
I mean, go to hell.
yeah, like Monday morning.
Minister Farrakhan said, I get more respect from white people kicking them than you do loving them.
Tell it.
Allah says in the Holy Quran, I, Allah, am the best knower. See? So if he's the best knower, who should we be following? Who should we be submitting to? Why would we submit to his enemy when God says, I am the best knower? Check this out. He says, I want to read it to you. He says, this book, there is no doubt in it.
Come on.
Stop right there, man. There's no doubt in the book. Why would he have to tell us that in the beginning? See, he's framing, he's setting our mindset. He's framing our thought pattern. That everything that I read in this book, there is nothing that should be doubted about it. I can take it as facts. And I can stand on it. And I can apply it in my life. And if I do those things, then I will be found on the right course. So he says, this book is a guide to those who keep their duty. See, this book is not for the unrighteous. This book is for the righteous. I read the Quran, man. You know, I ain't really follow everything, and you know it's an alright book. That's because you're not the righteous. Yet. Talking about black folk. But people who are out here just doing what they want to do, and in this world, this book is not for them. This book is for those who want to do the will of God, who want to strive to give their mind over to the Creator. So those who keep their duty and believe in the unseen. See, God is the unseen reality. You and I don't see where God at. Yeah? Now I know we are God's children of the Most High God. But right now, at this moment, in this room, you don't see the God.
That's right.
He's unseen to us, but we know He's real.
That's right.
We know He exists.
Yes, sir.
So we must believe in Him and keep up prayer. Man, the Christians got it right, man. Prayer changes things.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes we don't really pray like we should.
Yes, sir.
I'm guilty.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I thank Allah for Ramadan.
Yes.
Because Ramadan is like revival. It resets the needle again.
Yes.
Gives you and I a new opportunity to get it right and to get back on course again.
Yes.
Prayer, I'm telling you, frames the mind.
Yes.
See, we can will to do something and want to do something, but if we have not been praying, our will deteriorate. The desire to achieve and to accomplish will start to disappear.
That's right.
Prayer fuels desire. Desire feeds the will. Time to go, man. Those who believe in the unseen and keep up prayer and spend charity out of what we have given them, and who believe in that which has been revealed to thee and that which was revealed before thee. See, anybody who says the Muslims don't believe in the Torah, don't believe in the New Testament, don't believe in Jesus, don't believe in Moses, and they lie. It's a requirement to be a Muslim to believe in all of the prophets and messengers of God and all of the messages that have been revealed. But how many of those messages do Christians believe in? How many of those messages do Jews believe in? See, the Muslims even believe in what was revealed to Zoroaster, to Buddha. See that? To the wise sages back in the day. Because we understand that all wisdom comes from one source. Nowadays, the enemy has corrupted the messages of Buddha and Zoroaster and the Baha'i faith and all of those. The enemy has corrupted those messages, but the pure message, we believe in it. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said we believe in the truths of the Bible.
That's right.
But we understand that it has been tampered with and must be reinterpreted so that mankind will not be snared by the falsehoods that have been added to it. Every person who studies the Bible can bear witness that it's been tampered with.
Yes, sir.
And if you cannot bear witness to that, you're not being honest. It's a gay Bible. It's a white cover with a rainbow on it.
My God.
Go look it up. We're not lying.
Must be reinterpreted.
There's a men's Bible. There's a women's Bible. There's a Bible you read 6 months. You read a year. You got a million different translations.
That's right.
And then they said the Bible is the most widely sold book in the world. That's true. But the Holy Quran is the most read book in the world.
Yes.
All right, man. Look, so we believe in that which was revealed before us, and that which was revealed to us, and of the hereafter we are sure. These are on a right course from their Lord, and these it are that are successful. See? Want to be successful? Those 5 principles right there are the principles of success. And today, Minister Farrakhan is the epitome of following those principles. So we're going to bring this to an end. Look at what this says. Minister Farrakhan is the one we should be looking at.
Yes, sir.
Now, some of our people are afraid of Farrakhan.
Yes, they are.
Boy, you say the name Farrakhan, boy, it's like you pulling out onion on Dracula.
The garlic.
Oh, garlic, definitely garlic. Yeah, garlic. Garlic and onion. And a cross. And a silver bullet on the werewolf. Who, Farrakhan?
Yeah.
Knees start shaking when you say Farrakhan. How black people knees start shaking when you say Farrakhan? Man, come on, man.
Yes.
Some people say Farrakhan is insane.
The Quran said it.
But Farrakhan said that fearlessness looks like insanity to a coward. Alright. So stop being a coward, man. And let God make us fearless. Lastly, man, can I get just a few more minutes? I have to read this.
Go ahead, brother.
Message to the black man. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, one of the attributes of Allah, the all-wise God, who is the supreme being, is knowledge. Knowledge is the result of learning. And it is a force or an energy that makes its bearer accomplish or overcome.
Praise be to Allah.
It's one of the coldest books, man. I want to read something to you right quick. You heard me mention the name Master Farad Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
The majority of the world does not know him. We who are in the Nation of Islam not only know him, but love him.
Yes, sir.
We believe in him.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And we believe he is, in fact, our Savior and Deliverer. His mind is so that it is unmatched by any other mind in the universe. He is the one that came for us and started the process of our resurrection.
That's right.
And he is the teacher of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes.
Now look what Elijah Muhammad says about him, Master Farad Muhammad. He says, the wisdom, idea, and way of thinking of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever, is superior to any way of thinking today. Does Farrakhan think like anybody else that you know?
No, sir.
All right. There is no one to hinder his image or thought for that which has not yet been conceived in our brain. He goes after the root of all things, like our black father did in the beginning when he built the universe out of nothing.
That's right.
He is as one sitting out in space with no material of space to make something altogether new. He goes after the root, in making this new world of people. Now, here it is. If you want that new education that will make us free, it starts in the mind.
Yes, sir.
And it has to be a superior teaching to that which can be found in the world.
Yes, sir.
Look at what he says. He said, Master Farad Muhammad said, first, he makes a new mind for us and a new way of thinking. He teaches us a different education, one that we have never had before. So when you hear the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, it's something that you have never heard before.
Go ahead.
Some of the things that you heard today, some of you never heard it before.
Come on, teach.
That's because the wisdom that we have from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has come from God himself.
Hey, teach.
Now this is, what kind of education is it? Education it is. He gives us education on the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of God. You catch that? He gives us the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of gods, not of prophets, but of the gods of the prophets of the past. He builds our minds according to the way gods think. How do gods think? You've never known how God thinks. Because the Bible told you, your ways are not my ways, neither are your thoughts my thoughts. So we don't know how God thinks. The only way we know how God thinks is if God reveals it to us. He lets us enter into his mind. But the teachings of Elijah Muhammad are the teachings of the University of God. So he builds our minds according to the way gods think and not the way of thinking of servants. We have a servant mentality. You need a God mentality. Not arrogant, but God-like. So, he says, the prophets of the past were inspired, and their inspiration was true. See, they were inspired to bring what they brought. Elijah Muhammad was taught what he brought from the face of God. Now, what better teaching or education is there other than the knowledge of God himself? Now, I want you to mark this on your calendar. Etch it in your mind that Brother Lawrence said that, because all of this we are going to meet shortly.
Come on.
Nobody believed in Jesus in his day and time.
That's right.
They thought he was a false man.
That's right.
They thought he was possessed of the devil.
They did call him Beelzebub.
But once he gave up the ghost on the cross, there was an earthquake that took place. And at the moment that earthquake took place, the people said, surely he was the Son of God.
That's right.
See? We're going to be saying that shortly about Farrakhan.
Yes.
All of the things they said about Jesus, they say about Farrakhan.
Same thing.
So look, I would suggest, humbly suggest, that if we really want a full and complete freedom, try the teachings
of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
You tried everything else.
That's right.
Black people have tried every religion under the sun.
Yes, yes.
Spirituality. We've tried